Hey YouTube, Rob back again, as you can see. Well, yeah, time again. Time to do more end of the month sort of movie update. A bit of a stack here of stuff that I've sort of bought and watched. I thought I might perhaps do a few shoutouts as well. Actually, I have there's a few sort of film recommendations here that after sort of hearing someone talk about it, I did sort of pick up the film. So I thought I might do, as I sort of get to those films, I might just sort of do a quick shout out to those people. And they're all great. They're all great YouTubers, so I think they definitely need more subs. So we'll make a start. First one here is actually a steelbook. This is the Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now remember when the sort of the first sort of steelbook came out, it didn't sort of last long. It was sort of sold out pretty quickly, and it's on like eBay for ridiculous amounts of money. So I did sort of do a bit of a pre-order on this one, so I wouldn't sort of miss out. Quite a nice looking steelbook. I haven't had sort of chance to unwrap it and give it a rewatch. But I did sort of quite like it when I sort of watched it in the cinema. I think it does sort of get mixed reviews, but it was actually a film I actually quite liked a lot. Actually, I thought it was a really sort of fun movie. Yeah, so that's that one, Age of Ultron. It did sort of come with sort of I think it's like a pre-order bonus, maybe some sort of art cards, which I don't know, most people might have already seen them already, but I might just do a quick sort of showing of them. I think it's just sort of different sort of artwork, I suppose. That's that one, and then we've got that one, and then finally that one. So that was a bit of a cool bonus, I guess. Okay, so next we've got sort of this is one that was actually recommended by Roaaarry, a really great YouTuber. I'll leave a link to all these people down below. Haven't sort of seen him for a while. He did sort of say he was coming back. He made that really awesome sort of return video saying he was going to be coming back very soon, and no one's sort of seen him since. I assume he's okay out there. I'm sure he'll be come back in at some point. Anyway, so definitely checking him out. Unbroken, which I think does sort of get sort of mixed reviews. I think he reckoned it was really good, so I decided to sort of pick it up and give it a watch. I did actually quite like it. I thought it was actually really good. I think most people sort of said it was a rather sort of, I guess, average sort of movie, which was, I don't know, I suppose I can sort of see it's not necessarily anything groundbreaking, or we had sort of had these sort of stories before, I suppose. But I thought it was a very well made movie, and it's a really great story. And I think you can't really sort of say it's a bad thing to have watch a good story. So it's directed by Angela, starring Jack O'Connell here, which I have sort of seen in a few other things. I think Skins is probably the British TV show, which that was the first time I ever saw him, I think, and so I'm a bit of a fan of him. I think he's quite a good actor, and he's always sort of good to see on screen. So sort of I guess most people know, sort of based on a true story of was it Louis Zamperini, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. A really, quite an amazing guy. After sort of watching this, I never really sort of heard of him before, but he did actually do quite a lot of amazing things, which I probably won't go. I guess I could sort of talk about this movie for I could sort of make a whole video on it, I suppose. But he sort of started out sort of being a really talented athletics, a really sort of fast runner, and ended up going, I think, to the Olympics. And in the movie, I don't know whether it's a true thing or not, but he was sort of coming last in the last lap and managed to sort of sprint past the rest of them, and I'm pretty sure he sort of won the gold medal. I'm pretty sure he won. I can't quite remember it. I did sort of watch this film a little while ago. So he's quite talented at that, and they say if he hadn't, if sort of World War II hadn't sort of broken out, he might have been the first person, I think it was, to possibly to sort of break I think it's a 4-minute mile or something. Well, that's what they say anyway. But yeah, he ended up going to war and ended up being working in the planes, sort of. I don't know what the correct word is for that. Just sort of a Spitfire, maybe going up into the Spitfire planes and sort of dropping bombs and stuff like that, which is quite a hard job from what I sort of understand. And then of course his plane got sort of shot down, and him and I think 2 other people were sort of stuck in a life raft, and they did sort of manage to survive that, amazingly. But they did sort of get picked up by the Japanese, and they were sort of taken to a concentration camp and pretty much tortured and beaten, and horrible things happening to them. But as you could probably guess, he did sort of manage to get out from there. And then, sort of after the war ended, he sort of ended up sort of forgiving those sort of people, the Japanese people that were, which I suppose is, quite a amazing thing, really, I suppose, because, you'd be really sort of bitter about it. And but I think, and he was, I think, just sort of start off with these sort of, as a lot of other people, I suppose, that sort of position, started to drink and were really sort of angry and depressed, and but I think he just came to the conclusion one day that there's no way to live. He just decided to sort of forgive them, and he actually sort of went and actually met them after the war, and basically told them that he forgave them for what they did to him, and which is probably something I probably couldn't do. I don't think. I think I'd be rather sort of angry and quite pissed off, I suppose. But I suppose in some ways I think that's probably more the, I don't know, might be a cliche thing to say, I suppose, but it's probably the more healthy thing to do, I suppose, because living with that sort of hate and that sort of it would just really just sort of tear you apart. I think really you just couldn't be able to get on with the rest of your life, I suppose. And so I suppose I guess sort of thinking about it and sort of forgiving those people was probably the only way to sort of put that behind you, I suppose, and sort of move on. Then you also did I just sort of watched a behind the scenes thing on him, which was quite interesting, and they were sort of saying that he was, I think he was like up to 91 years old, and he was still doing skiing and playing tennis and still doing all these amazing things. But yeah, just a really great film. I definitely thought it was really good acting by Jack O'Connell here, and just a great story. I thought I did quite like a lot. So that's Unbroken. Onto a couple of westerns actually. Jace, MoviemanJase. I think there's a bunch of numbers. I can't remember his complete name. I'll leave a link below though. He's a big sort of westerns fan, so I think he was sort of talking about it on like a live stream. He's been doing a few live streams with a couple of other YouTubers as well, with Falagar 517 and Parnsip Burger, and who else is on there? LolazBasement, and the guy from New Zealand, SirWolfBane, a few other great YouTubers as well. And so he was sort of talking about some of the westerns that he quite likes a lot. So he was talking about sort of Shane, which I do actually have in my collection for quite a while, but I never sort of got around to sort of watching it. But he was sort of talking about it and really recommended it, so I thought I'd give it a watch. And I haven't sort of seen that many westerns, I suppose, but I do actually quite like this one. It's sort of a bit of I've sort of seen the Magnificent Seven, which kind of has a sort of a similar sort of storyline to it, I suppose. You sort of got Alan Ladd here, which I think he's another great actor. I've sort of seen him in a few other films as well. He's quite good as well. Sort of being a bit of a drifter, I suppose, and sort of comes across this sort of family sort of struggling to make ends meet on their farm, sort of thing. And we sort of find that there's sort of a local, I guess, villain, I suppose, if I can sort of use that word. And he's sort of trying to take over people's land and giving the family a bit of a hard time. So Alan Ladd, he sort of helps them out, sort of thing, to get rid of this evil person. But yeah, quite good. Probably it's a bit of a sort of slow watch, I suppose, and the little kid in it was quite annoying. He just kept saying Shane all the time, which was kind of a bit annoying after a while. But yeah, it was quite good. So I did sort of enjoy that one. Another one here, which was True Grit with John Wayne. Actually, this one a lot. Actually, I thought this was actually really good as well. Actually, another sort of long watch, but I definitely didn't sort of find it, all that boring though. It didn't seem to drag too much. I think she's just sort of about what's her name? Kim Darby's character, and her father was sort of killed at the beginning of the film, and in a way she wants to sort of, seek revenge. So she sort of goes into town to hire a man, John Wayne here, a man with true grit, to basically find this guy and bring him, bring him to justice. And there's also another guy there as well, which I would assume is Glenn Campbell. He's sort of after the same guy as well for a different crime. So there's all three of them sort of go out to try and find this guy, and they sort of don't really want to take her because she's a woman, sort of thing, and so they're trying to get rid of her and say, you can't come along, sort of thing. But she just very sort of persistent, does sort of come along and help to try and find this man, sort of thing. But yeah, I just quite like it. I thought all of the characters I thought were really good, and I think she was probably maybe a little bit annoying, I suppose. But and sort of not having her in the movie, I suppose, would sort of take away from it, I think, and I definitely think she's a crucial part of the movie. So that's True Grit. I definitely would recommend that one because I thought it was quite good. Another film I think he was sort of talking about, that's Wolf Creek, an Australian horror film, which I've never sort of seen before, which is probably quite a surprise, I suppose, it being a Australian film. But yeah, I just never sort of got around to sort of seeing it. I did actually quite like it. It was probably a little bit different to what I thought it was going to be. It was, I was sort of perhaps expecting perhaps a little bit more sort of action to it, I suppose, in some ways. It's kind of like, I think it's like an hour and a half, an hour and 40-minute long film or something, and the first hour was pretty much just all sort of build up, and it's all pretty much sort of character development, and the last sort of half an hour pretty much sort of is where sort of the action sort of starts. But I think in case of sort of a horror type movie, I think it's normally sort of, I suppose, in some ways, the storyline isn't there. I think in some ways, the storyline isn't necessarily that important. You think you sort of more watch these sort of films just sort of, for the action sort of thing, I suppose. But saying that, I didn't necessarily think the sort of the first hour was boring in any sort of way. I did sort of quite like the story development, I suppose. But definitely, yeah, I did actually quite like it. Sort of the last half an hour was pretty sort of intense and rather gruesome, I suppose. And definitely just sort of make me squirm a little bit in my seat. But yeah, I did actually quite like it. It's Wolf Creek, and then also did sort of buy the sequel as well, which I haven't sort of had a chance to watch yet. Another sort of horror classic. That's ReAnimator, which I have sort of seen, but that was probably 10, 15 years ago, probably. I couldn't remember all that much about it. So I gave this one a watch the other day, and yeah, I did actually quite like it. I thought it was quite good, nice sort of great use of sort of practical effects to it, and a pretty sort of fun sort of watch. Yeah, I don't know what to sort of say about it, I suppose, but I did think it was quite good. Next one here is The Italian Job, which is like the remake of the original one with Michael Caine. It's a film I do actually quite like. I've sort of seen this one quite a number of times over the years, and it's one I really do quite like. Never really got around to sort of picking it up, so I managed to find it reasonably cheap somewhere, and I got it. And yeah, I did sort of give it a rewatch the other day, and I think it's a really good movie. And so that's The Italian Job. This one here is a film that I think got absolutely terrible reviews and was a major flop. But it was like $2 in like a second-hand shop, so I decided to give it a bit of a go, and because I was a bit curious, I suppose, about it. It's the Golden Compass, which, as I sort of said, was apparently a bit of a major flop. I think it's supposed to be like a film series, I think. So I was going to make at least another 2 or 3 films after this to sort of complete the story. I mean, I sort of gave it a watch. I didn't think it was too bad. I think I could sort of perhaps tell it was sort of based on the book there, because some sort of scenes did sort of seem a little bit sort of rushed, sort of thing, I suppose. But I thought it was pretty decent, and not a sort of a bad sort of watch, I thought. It's just, I don't know, a bit of a shame, I suppose, they didn't sort of continue on with it. I mean, I guess probably it was a bit of a flop, maybe, I suppose. But I mean, in some ways, I think it's a bit sort of, I don't know, if you want to go from a sort of an art perspective, I mean, it's to sort of only do one film out of a trilogy or so. Because I mean, there's no point watching this film because it's only like part of a trilogy, So anyway, I don't know why they just didn't continue on with it. It might have been, they might have lost money, I suppose, but I don't know. Anyway, so that's the Gun Compass. Now on to sort of a few, yeah, sort of old films, old black and white films, a lot of classic ones. So I've sort of been watching a lot of them recently. I've been on a bit of a really big sort of, you know, classic movies kick recently, and just sort of, you know, just sort of finding all these sort of old movies and, you know, just giving them a bit of a watch. This one here is, let's see if I can pronounce this correctly. The Bridges at Roaaarry, I think that's how you pronounce it. With William Holden, an old sort of an old black and white sort of war film. A film I'd actually quite like. It was perhaps a little bit sort of different, I suppose, to your typical sort of, I guess, war film. Concentrated perhaps more on sort of the human side and not necessarily sort of the, you know, the blood and guts and the glory, I suppose, of war. Now, so it talks about him sort of being away from his wife for a year, and you know his wife and his kids, and sort of talks about sort of the, you know, sort of where do these sort of men come from, or indeed women, you know, where do these people come from that sort of, you know, sort of do, you know, every day they go out and it's a chance of being killed sort of thing, but yet they sort of, you know, do it every day, and you know don't sort of appear to be scared, or don't appear to be, you know, worried about, you know, dying, I suppose, even though they, you know, they probably are, sort of thing. They're just, you know, I guess someone who's doing their bit for their country and just, you know, being extremely brave, sort of thing. But yeah, also I just thought it was really good, and just not your sort of typical sort of, you know, just war film, and it did sort of more concentrate more perhaps sort of on the human elements, and you know what sort of war is really like, I suppose, you know. And I did sort of quite like the end too. I thought the end was, you know, quite refreshing as well. I mean, I don't normally sort of spoil movies too much, but I might spoil the end of this one because I just thought it was, you know, really good. Well, really good is probably not the best way to describe it, I suppose. Rather sad ending. I mean, you know, William Holden sort of dies at the end. That's sort of the spoiler, I suppose. Which I guess is probably not, you know, sort of a, you know, huge shock, I suppose, in some ways. But it's the fact that he's, you know, I suppose normally in these sort of movies he might get shot down or get wounded, but he normally sort of manages to sort of find his way back home, and you know, doesn't sort of die, you know, in a hospital bed, you know, with his wife there, you know, and sort of saying some big sort of, you know, sort of death speech and, you know, sort of thing. He's basically just him and the other person he was with pretty much just get through into sort of this muddy ditch, and they just get shot, you know, by the Koreans, sort of thing. They just, you know, they're both pretty much outnumbered, and they're sort of in this dirty ditch, and they just shoot him pretty much, and that's, you know, that's pretty much the end of the movie, sort of thing. There's no real sort of dramatic sort of, you know, death or anything. He pretty much just gets shot, and, you know, and that's it. Which is, you know, I guess, you know, very much, I suppose, how a lot of people would have died back then. You know, they wouldn't have, you know, had some sort of a heroic death speech or, you know, anything like that. They just got shot, and, you know, that was it. That was, you know, pretty much what, you know, more was like, I suppose. But definitely a film I thought was actually quite good, because it was just, yeah, a lot different to, you know, your normal sort of movie. So that's that one. Another sort of war film, this one's called What Price Glory, with James Cagney. Not a particularly good film, I didn't think, really. I mean, I can pretty much watch anything. If you sort of watch my channel, I can pretty much, you know, watch anything. And I guess in some ways I did sort of, you know, didn't mind it to a point, I suppose. But it was just, yeah, I don't know. It was, I did sort of read that it was a bit of a film that weren't really quite sure what to do with this sort of film when they were sort of making it. It sort of started out as being a musical, and it was a bit of a comedy, and it was also a bit of a drama, and you know, it was just a bit of a sort of a mishmash of, you know, different sort of styles of film, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, it was just sort of James Cagney. He was sort of like the, you know, I guess the, you know, the head of these Marines, and it was just sort of about him, and he gets like a new sort of sergeant, you know, sort of come in, and they've sort of met each other before, and they don't particularly like each other sort of that much. So there's a bit of sort of, you know, hostility there, but at the same time they both sort of respect each other, because they, you know, they're quite good at, you know, what they do, sort of thing. And they pretty much just sort of spend, these two main sort of guys just sort of spend the whole film just sort of shouting at each other. That's pretty much the whole film, but just sort of them, I guess in some ways, you know, trying to sort of outdo each other, I suppose, and sort of see who can sort of shout the loudest, you know, type thing, which kind of got a bit sort of a bit annoying after a while. I thought really just these sort of two people just sort of shouting at each other, and I guess in some ways, you know, trying to be dramatic. But yeah, it was alright, I suppose, but yeah, not particularly. I guess as I was saying before, a bit of a mess, I suppose, of different ideas. So that's that one. This one here is a sort of a triple pack. This is the 7th Voyage of Sinbad, which sort of has the sort of the stop animation of is it Roy Hausenhover, or however you say his name? Yeah, oh, sorry, Ray Hausenhover, or however you say his name. But he was kind of like the, you know, sort of a pioneer, I suppose, in sort of stop animation. And I have sort of seen sort of clips here and there of his work, but I have never sort of seen a whole movie of sort of his work. So I wanted to sort of check this out. I only sort of watched the first movie, but which I thought was actually quite good. It was sort of a, you know, this is sort of a low budget, sort of B grade, you know, type film, I suppose. But at the same time, it was reasonably sort of coherent to the sort of the storyline, and I did sort of quite like the stop animation too. I mean, it was obviously very dated by today's standards and a bit sort of clunky, you know, sort of style of animation. But it did sort of have really nice sort of characters, sort of clay model designs. I thought they were actually, you know, quite well made, and it was just sort of the actual sort of action was a bit clunky, I suppose. But I mean, in terms of sort of, you know, an art form and sort of watching these sort of clunky animated sort of figures being animated, it was, you know, I quite enjoyed that. The visual sort of aspect to it, I thought was actually, you know, quite beautiful, I suppose, if I can sort of use that word. But yeah, I'm sure I'll get around to sort of watching the other sort of two movies as well. But I did actually quite like the first one, even though it was a bit, you know, B grade, I suppose. And so that's that one. I think I've got a couple more here to go. Also picked up, well, I actually did, so I had this one in my collection for, you know, quite a while. It's the Jumanji, which I think came in this really sort of nice sort of edition. Not sure whether I sort of showed this one before or not, but I'm pretty sure I might have seen something for a long time ago, but it's been a while since I've sort of seen it, and I did sort of give it a rewatch the other day, and I did sort of quite like it. I thought it was a, you know, pretty sort of fun sort of movie. I think they're going to do a remake of it sometime soon, which I don't know whether they need to remake it or not. I don't think they really need to. Might have perhaps a bit better sort of special effects, I suppose, to it and stuff. But I suppose, you know, you can't really replace, you know, Rob Williams, I suppose, can you really? But I suppose I'm pretty sure it won't be too bad when they do the remake. Yeah, it's Jumanji. And I picked up a sort of limited edition here of a Studio Ghibli film, sort of Howl's Moving Castle, which I had sort of seen before a long time ago, and wasn't really all that impressed with it, to be honest. But I think there's another great YouTuber on here, Rachel Wagner, which I think she has a really great channel, and I think you should definitely check her out, because I think she just makes really great videos, and she's a really big sort of animation fan, and she's sort of been doing this really great series of sort of Did the Best One Win, which she sort of watches all sort of the from each year sort of the animated features that were sort of nominated for Oscars, and then she sort of watches them all and sort of gives her opinion on all these films, and then sort of says, does she think that, you know, obviously Did the Best One Win, best animated feature of that year sort of deserved to win, sort of thing. Just kind of why I sort of did sort of pick this one up, because well, I think she didn't necessarily say she was a sort of a huge fan of this one, but it's a film I have sort of been wanting to sort of give a rewatch for quite a while. I think I did sort of like it a little bit more perhaps on the second time, but I think it definitely, I think as she sort of said, the film does have a few sort of problems, and I mean, she was sort of saying that, you know, certain parts of the film didn't sort of make a whole lot of sense, and I can sort of agree with that. I think there's some bits I didn't quite understand, and it has some really nice sort of visuals to it, and quite an interesting sort of story to it. But I think I did sort of find it was a little bit sort of, I guess a bit sit over the top for me. It was a bit sort of a bit too strange, a bit too weird for, you know, sort of my liking. But this is definitely a really, you know, great addition though. I did sort of look it up, and I think it's I think they only sort of made 20,000 copies or something of this particular edition, or something like that. And I feel like I got this reasonably cheap too. I think it was I think under $20, I think, which is, I mean, for a Studio Ghibli film, that's an absolute bargain. I mean, these films are you know, ridiculously expensive to sort of buy. I have been looking into try and find some more films, you know, more sort of Studio Ghibli films, because I do own quite a few of them, but the few I'm sort of missing. But yeah, definitely. I mean, it was okay. I thought it was quite an interesting watch, I think. But definitely not really a film that I probably would watch all the time. And then finally, I have sort of had this in my collection for quite a while. Sort of the complete edition of Tintin, which I have sort of been watching. I think it's got 5 discs in it, I think. 4 or 5 discs, and pretty much just all the episodes sort of in it. As you can sort of, whether you can see that, that's sort of all the episodes sort of thing. And I did sort of watch quite a bit of Tintin when I was sort of growing up, and I did sort of quite like the show, so it was really nice to sort of, you know, give it a bit of a rewatch. The problem, I did sort of notice that, I bought this a long time ago, so I really can't return it now, I suppose, but I did sort of find out that the first disc and the third disc are actually the same, have the exact same thing on it, so there must be a bit of a, I'm not sure what happened there when they were sort of making the disc. They must have sort of did a copy of the wrong one or something like that. But so I can't remember, you know, sort of where I bought it from, so I can't really return it. So it's a bit sad because I can't. There's sort of a few episodes there I can't really watch. But I did sort of watch, you know, all the episodes that I could, and I did, you know, really quite like it. Perhaps a little bit sort of, perhaps a bit slow by today's standards, I suppose, in terms of, you know, the story, I suppose. But a bit, you know, very sort of convenient. A lot of the sort of mysteries, I suppose, that Tintin was trying to solve, they were sort of rather sort of, a lot of sort of coincidences for him to sort of find out clues to sort of, you know. But yeah, it was quite a good watch though. Did really quite like it. That's Tintin. Right, so that's my big sort of haul. As always, if you've sort of seen any of these films, you know, certainly leave me a comment and tell me your thoughts. That's it. Before I start rambling on too much, I think I'll end it here. Yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all soon. So bye.